memory location. If I say alias name or the another name to the existing memory location, then that concept is called as a reference. If we write a reference, if I wish to go for reference variable, I will write integer, let us say R. R is a normal variable. But if I precede this R with the AND sign, then that is called as reference variable. When you talk about reference variable, it is having the capability to point to the num, or you can say A ka address. So what I'll say here, R is a reference variable which is pointing to the same memory location where my A is pointing. This concept was not in C programming. हमें C programming में दो concept थे, एक call by value, another was call by address concept. In case of C++, we have, if we wish to avoid the concept of pointer, in that case, we can go for something called as reference. Reference is basically something which points to the existing memory location. Now, in case of reference, if you observe the difference between pointer and the reference, pointer is also having its own memory allocation. But reference will not have its own memory allocation. Means what? A reference variable will basically try to perform a same operation as your variable A will perform. And reference variable will point to the same memory allocation pointed by A. Reference को खुद का memory allocation नहीं मिलेगा. That is what it means to. But with the help of reference, we can also point indirectly onto the memory location. Let us observe. Suppose I have declared a variable, maybe we have declared integer A, which is having the value as 30. Considering the same example, I'm writing integer address of R is equal to num. What does this mean? R is known as reference variable, right? So any variable that we write preceded with a with the and sign, then that is called as reference variable. Now let me just write A, value of A, and I'll put some space and I'll say address of A. Let me just write R. I'll put here and L. And let us say I'll print address of R. And I'll say end L. I'll compile it and check it. So this is the G++ day3_1.cpp, and let us compile. All right. Can you see A value? I have got it as 30. R value, I have got it as 30. If I wish to print address of any variable, address of A, I've got it as E88. Address of R, I've got it as E88. Is it exactly the same, whatever address is of my variable A? So pointer भी ऐसे ही करता है, वेरिएबल की एड्रेस को होल्ड करता है, बट रेफरेंस भी वैसे ही करता है, बट रेफरेंस खुद की मेमोरी एलोकेशन नहीं लेता है. Reference variables are basically alias name given to existing memory location. Now, suppose I'm performing A plus is equal to 30. So can I say this will be treated as A is equal to A plus 30? Of course, yes. It's a shorthand operator. Let us try to print after changing the value in A. Initially, it was 30, and now it should give me as 60, right? Now, reference variable की size नहीं रहती है, सूरज. It is because it is just the memory allocation. It is just pointing to that memory allocation. Okay. Next, have you understood? तो A में changes किया, reference variable जहां पे point करा है वो भी changes हो रही है. ठीक है, everyone. All right. Now suppose I'm performing R++ and I'm printing it one more time. So जैसे हम पॉइंटर के थ्रू डेटा चेंज कर सकते हैं, वैसे हम रेफरेंस के थ्रू भी डेटा चेंज कर सकते हैं. जस्ट गिव मी अ मोमेंट. There is a power cut. Let me just connect charger. All right. This is not a garbage address, Hardik. This is the address which is allocated to A. Okay. So let us compile and check. So am I getting the updated value? तो अगर आपने A के थ्रू भी चेंज किया, R के थ्रू भी चेंज किया, तो भी चलता है. समझ में आया? Everyone. Is this concept is clear to you all? All right. Now the question is, suppose I am writing a swap function, right? Maybe I'm writing a void and I'm writing swap by reference variable. I will pass two reference variables, address of n1 and address of n2, right? ये क्या है पवन? ये मेरे मेमोरी अलोकेशन, मेरे सिस्टम का मेमोरी अलोकेशन दिया गया है टू द वेरिएबल a. किसी भी वेरिएबल की एड्रेस प्रिंट करनी है तो कैन आई प्रोसीड इट विथ एड्रेस साइन? तो दैट इज व्हाट इट इज प्रिंटिंग. समझ में आया? एवरीवन समझ में आया? All right. Now let us compare. Let us come to this point. अब तक आपने एक कॉल बाय वैल्यू का फंक्शन लिखा था, याद है क्या सबको? जहां पे आपने n1 एंड n2 पास किया था. Yes, that's the address, Hardik. Right. दूसरा आपने फंक्शन लिखा था जहां पे हमने void swap pointer n1 एंड pointer n2 लिखा था, right? That is called by reference concept, called by address concept. Now, when you are talking about address sign, right? Address is basically, there is no need to use free in this case, Rishi. It is just a reference as it will, for example, if your A is having some memory allocation, it's a local variable. So it will go, it will basically go out of the stack automatically. Okay. Now, suppose I'm writing now a function which is taking two argument as a reference variable. So here I'll say arguments are of type reference. So let us say I have integer num1 is equal to 30, num2 is equal to 25. I'm giving a call swap by reference. I'm passing num1, I'm passing num2. Let us just try to print the value of num1 is basically this, and let us try to print value of num2, which is this, right? And end L. So if I talk about swap by reference, after swap by reference, I will again try to print value of num1 and num2, right? Now, Durga, it is just a function definition, a function declaration that I have done. On line number 12, I have performed a function call. What is function call? I have given a call to the function by passing two arguments, num1 and num2. Let us just try to define the function now. Yes, you can take temporary variable. You want me to write that? We will write it. So what will be the logic? I'll say integer temp, where my temp should hold the value of n1 and n1 should hold the value of n2 and n2 should hold the value of temp. This is what is basically is performing the operation. Now I would request everyone, let us understand in this scenario, initially 30 and 25 should get displayed because of the cout. Later on, I have swapped by reference 30 and 25. And when you talk about 30 and 25, which are passed by reference, this value will be pointed by the reference variable. And when it will be pointed by reference variable, at that moment, you are trying to make the changes into that variable. Obviously, that will be changed. That will be changed. Can you see the output? So is it the advantage over the pointer? Of course, yes, it is the advantage. समझ में आया? Everyone? All right. All right. Just a second. Just quickly go through the code once. Have you understood how the values are getting changed? Everyone. Any questions so far? Only swap in this program. It is because यहाँ पे मैंने reference pass किया. That is nothing but a pointer variable. Not a pointer, it's a reference variable. So through the reference, you can change the values and you can perform the operation. Did you all get up to this point? Yes or no? All right. Now, let us say, I'll say day 3_2.cpp. Yes, that's what, Rishi. Can you observe this diagram? This is a pointer versus reference diagram. I'll just save it at the correct location. All right. समझ में आया रेफरेंस कंसेप्ट? मतलब आपको पॉइंटर नहीं यूज करके आपको रेफरेंस यूज करना है. If you really do not want to go for pointer allocation in C++, you can pass the parameters within reference. Num1 is getting stored into address of N1. Num2 is getting stored into address of N2. That is what is a reference is. Why I have covered so? It is because I wanted to explain you something called as copy constructor. Right? We are just pointing, not storing. Yes, absolutely correct, Shrikant. That's the reason I've written it is the another name given to your existing memory location. Okay. Shall we go ahead, Shrikant? Let us say I have declared a complex class, right? Inside this complex class, I have some private data members, maybe integer real and maybe integer imaginary. Right? And let us say in this, I have declared a public section in which, can you please tell me what exactly is this? What exactly I'm writing over here? Line number 11 क्या है? Constructor. कौन से type का constructor? Parameter less constructor. Okay. Line number 12. Integer real, integer imaginary. This arrow real is equal to real. This arrow imaginary is equal to imaginary. Which constructor is this? It is a parameterized constructor. Very good. Now, I'm going ahead to the next type of constructor, which is called as copy constructor. Suppose if I have one object of C1 as a C1, C1. If I have another object which is C2, I really wish to copy the integer real and imaginary value of this object into this object. And if I want to do this, I may want to go for something called as copy constructor. So let me just write, I'll say complex C2, right? Or complex COBJ, right? I am passing address of object. I'll say this arrow real is equal to real, and I'll say this arrow imaginary is equal to imaginary. Or we can say COBJ dot real and COBJ dot imaginary. I'll explain this concept in a short while. Let me just write display function. I'll write a real value, which is real. I'll write imaginary value, which is imaginary, and I'll say end L. The class is over. Now we are trying to have one main function, return 0. Now at this point, if I just wish to have a destructor, you can write a destructor and so on. Let us say at this point, I'm writing complex C1 and I'm saying C1 dot display. Which constructor will get called? Everyone. कौन सा constructor call होगा? With argument वाला कि without argument वाला? Obviously, without argument, 10 and 15 value will be assigned, and real and imaginary value will be displayed as 10 and 15. Let us compile. I'm sorry, we are in 3_2. Okay, 10 and 15, right. Similarly, I'm saying complex C3, C2. And here I'm passing the arguments, maybe 300, 200. अब कौन सा constructor call होगा? Obviously, it will call with argument constructor. Let us try to work with it. All right. Can you see here real and imaginary value was 300 and 200? यहाँ तक समझ में आया? Everyone. Now, let us say I'm writing complex C3 and bracket में I'm passing C2. I'm saying C3 dot display. Let us compile and check. Is my C3 is having the same values as the object C2? Everyone, yes. How did it work? Let me explain now this constructor. I have given a call complex C3 bracket में C2. Can I say constructor is called upon C3 object? Can I say like this, everyone? Yes or no? Yes. Please tell me, अगर मेरा constructor C3 पे call हुआ है, तो which will be this keyword? This keyword किसको मिलेगा? Current object किसको है? C3 को है. Can I say C3 is my current object on which constructor is called? ये आपको समझना चाहिए syntax देख के. Okay. Next, can you please tell me argument is passed as object as a reference? Which is that object I'm passing as a reference? C2. Can I say C2 will get stored into COBJ. It's a function call के जैसे normally. Can I say like this? Everyone. C2 object मैंने parameter pass किया है, which is getting stored into C object. All right. So, can you please tell me C2 के real की value हमने assign की थी 300 and C2 के imaginary की value हमने assign की 200. Can you observe C2 is nothing but your COBJ only? So C object की real value, that is 300. Is it going into current object real value? C object की imaginary value, which is 200, is it going into the current object imaginary value? Yes. This is called as copying the constructor. If you really wish to copy the contents of existing object into the another object, in that case, you can use a reference of that object as an argument to it. So when you pass an object of same type of class as a reference, this is called as copy constructor. Have you all got it? I'll repeat once again. I have created the object C3. Let us observe, start from C1. C1 object banaya. C1 is giving a call to parameter less because I have not passed the parameters. So वो कौन से constructor में गया? It will obviously go into parameter less constructor. C1 was my current object. So current object real value, current object imaginary value was assigned as 10 and 15. So that's what output I have got. Next, I have created C2 object. While giving a call to C2 object, I have passed two values, 300 and 200. In that case, 300 and 200 are the two values which I'm passing as an argument. It will go into the second constructor called as parameterized constructor. So first value will go into real, second value will go into imaginary. That value I'm putting into current object real value. Which was the current object? C2 was the current object. Can you see C2 ka output? I have got it as 300 and 200. Yes. Next, when you talk about complex C3, at this point, it will observe C3 is the object. But this object is taking one more object as a reference. So it will go and observe where is the declaration for copy constructor. It will just perform C2. अब मेरा करंट ऑब्जेक्ट क्या है? C3. करंट ऑब्जेक्ट की रियल वैल्यू को करंट ऑब्जेक्ट की इमेजिनरी वैल्यू है. Please put the value of C object dot real, C object dot. What is my C object I have passed? That is nothing but C2. It's so easy now. Is it? अब समझ में आया flow? Right. Devidas, we are using private, but I hope you remember member functions of the class can have the accessibility to the private data members of the class. So can I say constructor is the member function of the class? Yes. कंस्ट्रक्टर क्लास का मेंबर फंक्शन ही बन सकता है. कंस्ट्रक्टर को आप क्लास के किसी भी क्लास के साथ ही वो लिंक होगा ना, अदरवाइज कंस्ट्रक्टर नहीं होगा, वो नॉर्मल फंक्शन हो जाएगा. होप यू हैव अंडरस्टूड. एवरीवन, डिड यू ऑल गेट द कंसेप्ट ऑफ इट इज मैंडेटरी टू राइट ऑब्जेक्ट? COBJ. माधुरी, अगर आपको यहाँ पे वेरिएबल चेंज करना है, आप वेरिएबल चेंज करो. It is completely based on you. Did you get it? It's just the variable name that you have passed. That's it. Okay. Have you understood? Like C2, absolutely correct. आपको यहाँ पे C2 पास करना है, आप C2 पास करो. C पास करना है, C पास करो. जैसे आपने यहाँ पे this arrow किया है, वैसे आप कर सकते हो. So it's based on you. Have you understood the meaning of copy constructor? Everyone. All right. Shall we go little ahead? All right. So we have seen total 3 types of constructor. One was parameterless, second was you can say parameterized, and third is a copy constructor. One point I just want to highlight over here is, let us say I have one demo and I have some private data members which is integer num. I'm having one public field in which I have parameter less constructor where I'm assigning num value is equal to 50. I'm having one parameterized constructor where I'm assigning this arrow num is equal to num. And this is my class definition. And let us say I will write a destructor, which is demo. And inside this, I will just write cout, let us say destructor called. All right. Now, here I have just tried to, you can say, I'll put one sentence inside parameter less. I'll say end L. Here I'll say, here I'll say inside parameterized. Right? I'll close this. I'll make integer main void, and I'll say here return 0. We have created demo D, which is D dot display. Assume I will write a display function where I'll just try to print current object num value. So we have created num. We have tried to go into the parameterless constructor. We have written a parameterized constructor, and we have written destructor called. And I'm writing this display function. First time parameterless will be called, 50 value will be assigned, 50 value will get displayed. Second time demo D bracket में 30. Second time D1 I should write because object should be different. D1 dot display. So next time 30 will be assigned. It will assign 30 value. It will display that 30 value to me. Now, why I've written so, I will explain just a second. Can you please tell me how many objects I have created in the program? Display spelling. Okay. How many objects I have created? 2 objects. Okay. Now, next is how many times destructor will be called? 2 times. Let us observe and compile this code. Check it out. Inside parameterless, 50 display हुआ. Inside parameterized, 30 display हुआ. Destructor called. Is it okay? Did you all get up to this point? Everyone. Now, I am just writing here something called as this. Here also, I'm writing here something called as this. And here also, I'm just writing this. As I say, this is a pointer. What do you mean by this? It is the address which holds the current address. Okay. Now, current object address अगर मुझे print करना है तो मुझे this keyword लिखना पड़ेगा. So let us compile this. Why I have written, you will get it in a while. The main is same. Please observe. First of all, it will go inside parameterless. It is printing that. Is it printing some memory address E7C? Yes. Why it is printing this current address? It is nothing but current object address. That is D1 को कौन सा memory address मिला मेरे compiler ने दिया. D1 is the second object which is calling inside parameterized constructor, and it is printing this, means current object address it is printing. Okay. Now, then two objects have been created, two times destructor have been called. But can you observe, जो second constructor है जिसका address है FE78 have destroyed at first, and first constructor destroyed into the second. So I will write a sentence over here. Destructor calling sequence is exactly opposite to constructor calling sequence. In this scenario, in every scenario, in normal scenarios, you can say inheritance में थोड़ा different है. समझ में आया? It is the reason is D1 object आया, it have got the memory into the stack. D2 object आया, it have got the memory into the stack. While destroying, पहले D1 बाहर आए, D2 बाहर आएगा, फिर D1 आएगा. And that is why a destructor calling sequence is exactly opposite to the constructor calling sequence. Is it okay? Yes, last in, first out. तो पहले आपको ये नहीं समझ में आ रहा था कि कौन से ऑब्जेक्ट का डिस्ट्रक्टर पहले कॉल हो रहा है, तो मैंने इसलिए आपको उस पर्टिकुलर ऑब्जेक्ट की एड्रेस प्रिंट करके दिखाई, एंड देन आपको ये दिखाया कि जो पहला कंस्ट्रक्टर एड्रेस कॉल हुआ है वो लास्ट में हुआ. These types of questions are asked in your C++ exam. You must be aware about this. ऐसा एक skeleton जैसे मैंने प्रोग्राम लिखा है डेमो, वैसे एक skeleton दिया रहेगा, कंस्ट्रक्टर्स रहेंगे, कॉलिंग सीक्वेंस एंड डिस्ट्रक्टर कॉलिंग सीक्वेंस आपको समझ में आना चाहिए कि कैसे होता है. समझ में आया? Any questions? Okay. Next. All right, let us go ahead. Let me go ahead. Day 3_4.cpp. All right. I'll say we are going to something called as static. याद है क्या हमने static कीवर्ड देखा था C प्रोग्राम में? Why destructor is Devidas? As I said, suppose आपने you always get something called as stack area. This is my stack. पहला object बनाया D1. So this is the memory allocated for D1. Second object you have created as a D2. So that is the next object D2. So when you are saying D1, this is my D2 object. This is basically the stack. Stack is, what is stack architecture is? Is it nothing but last in, first out? आपने data structure में किया है. Last in, first out. So जब मेरा memory destroy होगा, तो पहले destroy ये होगा, and next out, this will come out. This is how it is. इसलिए constructor calling sequence अगर ऐसा हुआ, तो destructor calling sequence exactly opposite होता है, because they are getting a memory inside your stack. Is it okay? I hope Devidas, you have got your answer now. Right. Next, have you heard about something called as static in C? Right. Static keyword is basically used when I want to retain the last updated value. Now the thing is, अगर हम static लिखते हैं, हम लोग static main के अंदर भी declare कर सकते हैं. We can declare the static variable in the global area also. The concept of that remains exactly same in case of your C programming, right? Let us now start working with, let us say I have a class test. Okay. Inside this class test, I have declared one num variable. Inside this class test, I am writing static integer s variable. Can I say num is a non-static data member? And can I say S variable is a static data member? Yes or no? Everyone. Ab, in this case, I'll write public. I'll write test function or test constructor. Can I allocate this arrow num is equal to 50? Can I allocate like this? Everyone? Good. Next, if I create a test object T1, तो कौन सा कंस्ट्रक्टर कॉल होगा? पैरामीटर लेस. नम को क्या वैल्यू असाइन हो जाएगी? What num will be assigned? 50. So if I try to print the value of num, it will give me the value as 50. All right. Now, suppose that means can I conclude जैसे ही मैं ऑब्जेक्ट बनाती हूँ num value will get initialized to 50, right? If I write t1 dot display, yes. Suppose I'm creating test t2, again one more time, can I say num will be initialized? t2 variable object बनाया तो can I say num variable be initialized one more time for object t2? Everyone? Yes. If I create third object, will my num will be reinitialized again? Yes. Yes, it is okay. But the thing is, अगर मैं यहाँ पे लिखती हूँ this arrow s variable is equal to 60, तो static variable को हम बार बार initialize कर सकते हैं क्या? No, we cannot initialize static variable again and again. Static variables must be initialized initialized. Let us check. I'll just compile this code. Can you see it is giving me LD error, linking error? Can you see it is giving me this is SI variable, which is having wrong reference. So it is giving me error, right? So this is not the correct location. Here we cannot do. Here it is not allowed. All right. Next, क्या मैं क्लास के स्टैटिक वेरिएबल को प्राइवेट डेटा मेंबर है तो मैं यहाँ पे अगर 60 लिखती हूँ तो चलेगा क्या? यहाँ पे तो हम सिर्फ डिक्लेयर करते हैं, हम यहाँ पे वेरिएबल को डेटा देते हैं क्या? नहीं देते हैं. सो दिस इज ऑल्सो नॉट अलाउड, राइट? देन let me just write here s underscore variable s underscore var not allowed. So अगर यहाँ पे भी अलाउड नहीं है, कंस्ट्रक्टर में भी मैं अलाउ नहीं कर सकती हूँ, क्या मैं इसको डायरेक्टली मेन में एक्सेस कर सकती हूँ? s variable is equal to 60. Let us check. Let us check. Obviously it will say s variable was not declared in the scope. Are you getting the scenario? So what is the solution? The solution is static variables must be initialized outside the class scope. Static variables must be initialized outside the class scope. Is it okay? Have you understood up to this point? Why is the reason that I have already explained. Am I defining something outside the scope? अगर मैं if I declare or if I define anything outside the scope, which operator do I use? Scope resolution operator. Means Can I say I am defining static variable outside the class scope? So 100% I have to go for scope resolution. That is the next use of scope resolution. Scope resolution operator is used to define the static variable outside its scope. कौन से class का S variable है? Can you please tell me what is the class name in which I have declared static member? Test class. So obviously I'll write test. Static variable का data type क्या है? Integer. So I will write integer. The way we have the syntax scope resolution, it is fixed. जिसको भी आपको क्लास के बाहर define करना है, you go for this kind of scenario. Let us now compile it. Is it giving me the value? Num की value भी 50, s variable 60, num value 50, s variable 60. Why it is giving 2 times? Because I have created 2 objects. I have called display function 2 times. Did you all get it? Everyone? The meaning of static data member, because static variables आपको पता है, हमने C में already देखा है. Is it okay? Hope you have understood up to this point. So next use of scope resolution was to basically call to declare a variables which are basically having, you can say, a static keyword. They are defined outside the class. Any questions so far? Pavan, there is no difference into the point in the program that I have created test T1 object. It will go over here, assign value 50. T1 dot display, it will go to display function and it will display this num value and s variable value. It will observe what is s variable. S variable is nothing but static. It will automatically search its initialization at 60. Is it okay? Vaibhav, I'm muting you. Yes, Saurabh, you can have the static member functions too. समझ में आया? In class, yes. You can, but normally if you have a data member as a static, then it's a good practice. You can use scope resolution operator for its initialization. ठीक है? Is it okay? Shall we go ahead? All right. So have you understood up to the concept called as static? You can have a static member function. You can basically give a call to the static member function and only static variable defines the outside. Yes, Devidas, because normal variables cannot be accessed outside the class name. Right, right. Other option is up class name. For example, I'll just write it for your reference. Suppose I have a class test. Inside this, I have public member function and where I have void display function. Some definition, I'm not writing definition. Let us say I have void static void result. एक दूसरा function है. Can I say this is a non-static function? And can I say this is the static member function? Yes. Okay. Now, in this scenario, let us assume inside main, I am creating a test object T obj. If I wish to give a call to display function, how will I write? Please tell me the syntax part. If I wish to call to a display function, then how do I write? I'll write t obj dot display. Everyone, object name dot function name. Similarly, if I have any function which is declared as a static, then I can give a call using class name scope resolution. So static member functions can be called with the help of class name scope resolution function name. Class name scope resolution function name, right? That's why they are also called as class functions, because they are called upon the class name. So this is the next use of scope resolution. If we wish to give a call to the normal function, we call it with the object name dot function name. If we wish to give a call to the static member function, we call it as member function name and class name and scope resolution. समझ में आया? Everyone. Are you there and are you understanding? Quickly go through the code. I'll wait for a minute. Syntax आपको पता होना चाहिए. Okay. Can I define extern? You can use many, you can say all the keywords which are there in C++. External variable you can go for. Okay, Tushar? Shall we go ahead? All right. So let me just open that day 2 slide. So we have seen static function को class name dot static function name कर सकते हैं. No, Saurabh. Listen carefully. अगर आप इस function को यहाँ पे maybe your result function, right? अगर आपने t object dot result किया तो भी वो execute होगा. It will not give you error. The reason is जो result function है, it's the member function of that class only. So static member function, if you are declaring within the class, then you can call it with the help of object name also. But if the syntax is asked, in that case, you can write it's a class name, scope resolution, function name. Saurabh, if you are using or if you are giving a call to the static function with the help of class name, then compulsory you have to follow the syntax as class name, scope resolution, function name. You cannot use a dot operator with a class name. If you really wish to use dot operator, you can call with the help of object name. This is also allowed. That's absolutely okay. Why it is okay? Because result member function of the class hai, and member functions can be called with the help of object name dot. I hope I've cleared your query, Saurabh. No, it's not possible in Java. It is possible in Java. Yes, it is not possible in C++. Every language is having their own features, right, Saurabh? So Java में आप class name dot function name बोलते हो या object name dot function name बोलते हो. C++ में अगर आपको static को call करना है तो आपको compulsory class name, scope resolution and function name लिखना पड़ेगा, because Java में आपको scope resolution नहीं है फिर. So every language is having their own basically features. Right. Sanket, if you are saying getch is one function जो हम लोग जब आप DOSBox या टर्बो सी यूज करते थे तो आपको आउटपुट स्क्रीन दिखता था. आउटपुट स्क्रीन के बाद आपको वापस मेन प्रोग्राम में आना है तो आप कोई तो कर्सर प्रेस करते थे एंड दैट वाज बेसिकली get the character and come back to your original screen. But now we are using VS Code. We are able to see the output on the same screen. So there is no necessity for it. Okay. Right. Akshay, C++ quiz is not updated. It is open from morning 11 o'clock till night 11 o'clock. So it will be visible at your end at 11 o'clock, from 11 o'clock. All right. See, Anirudh, there are many 32 keywords जो आपके C के है वो तो है यहाँ पे, और there are few more. So you can say again there are many keywords in, you can say C++. Exact count I need to check. All right. Shall we go ahead? Right. So we have seen something called as types of member functions: constructor, types of constructor, destructor, constants, reference, passing the value by argument, by value, and by reference, right? By value and by address, we have seen in C programming, which is exactly same. And today we have, in addition to it, we have seen reference variable. After that, we have seen something called as copy constructor, where the object is passed as an argument. Later on, if you remember dynamic memory allocation, right? In case of dynamic memory allocation, we have something called as, you can say, हमने C में कौन से functions देखे थे? One was malloc, another was scalloc, right? Then we have used free PTR and we have seen PTR is equal to null. आपको याद है क्या last lecture में मैंने ये cover किया था? Right. Free PTR क्यों लिखते हैं? Because I to free the PTR where the pointer is pointing. But free PTR से क्या basically what is the problem? If I only write free PTR, it leads to which concept? It leads to the error, or you can say something called as dangling pointer. And if I want to save the memory, if I want to avoid the memory leakage, then I will go for something called as PTR is equal to null. Right? I hope you remember this concept. The same concept is also there in C++. But in case of C programming, we were having the keywords called as malloc. In case of C++, dynamically. I hope you remember whenever we get the dynamic memory allocation, in which section we receive the memory? In which section of the memory we get the data? Is it data section, Suraj? No. Static को data section में मिलता है, constant को read only section में मिलता है, function को stack में मिलता है, function activation record local variable stack में मिलता है. Dynamic memory allocation receives the memory from heap section, right? In C++, we have new operator and we have delete operator. That's it. This is sufficient. You can remember. In case of dynamic memory allocation, new will allocate me a memory block of type integer, means 4 bytes, and pointed by pointer. I can use that pointer, I can print that value, and I can write delete PTR, which will deallocate the memory for basically which will deallocate the memory which is pointed by the new. So in C programming we were having malloc and free. In C++ we have new and delete. समझ में आया everyone? Anuja, I'm muting you. All right. Next is object copying. Anuja, I'm muting you. All right. Next is object copying. For example, let us look at this. If I say this is just a, you can say concept, we will not see the implementation part due to the time constraint. But shallow copy and deep copy are the two concepts which on which the theory questions can be asked. In object-oriented programming, when you are creating a copy of some object, copy of some existing object, then that is called as object copying. There are two categories of object copying. One is a shallow copy, another is a deep copy. Shallow copy is known as shallow clone. Deep copy is also called as a deep clone. So these two are the terminologies. When I say I have created an object and some address allocated to that object, if the copied object is also pointing to the same memory address, just like a reference, in that case, that type of copy is called as shallow copy. And when you talk about, I have the original object and that original object is having its own memory address. I have a cloned object, that is copied object. It is also having its own memory address. Then that is called as deep copy. Exact replica at a different memory location is nothing but deep copy. By rule, it is a decision made by your operating system, made by your compiler. जब भी आप कोई भी ऑब्जेक्ट का कॉपी बनाते हो, at that moment, whether to go for shallow copy or whether to go for deep copy. Shallow copy, where the copied object will point to the same memory location called as reference object. In case of deep copy, the copied object will have its own separate space or its own separate memory allocation. That concept is called as object copying, right? So this was just the theory part where you must understand the terminologies, what is shallow copy and deep copy. Now we have already seen what do you mean by static methods and static member function. This is where I've written a theory. If you really wish to access the static member function, you should use scope resolution. They are also called as class methods or class level methods, right? It is basically when you proceed static, in that case, you can go, when you precede any function with a static keyword, in that case, you can go for basically static member functions, and it will basically be accessed using the scope resolution. Saurav, deep copy and shallow copy, now for example, let us assume, Saurav, if you are writing, if you have one equal to sign, for example, A1, you have declared integer num is equal to 10, and you have declared integer num2 is equal to num. That means you are creating a copy of that 10 value inside num1 and let us say inside num2. In that case, by default, your compiler will go for shallow copy. But if you say in your program, you are having some kind of a pointer variable, in that case, या फिर आपने कुछ pointer use किया है, you have some variable which is having a pointer notation, in that case, your compiler will create a deep copy. So it is based on the situation when your compiler will go for shallow copy and when your compiler will go for your deep copy. It is based on the program that you have written in your system, right?
आपने उल्टा बोला क्या? क्योंकि अगर मेरे पास दो इंटीजर है तो उसके दोनों के अलग अलग हो गए तो मेरी डीप कॉपी हुई ना वो.
No, that is by see, by rule you will be able to observe that they are having the different addresses. True, but that is a shallow copy. Internally आपका system बाद में internally your system will go for shallow copy into it. जब आपके system में, जब आपके program में कोई तो एक पॉइंटर वेरिएबल डिक्लेयर किया हुआ है या फिर आपने कुछ दूसरे कंडीशंस लिखे हैं, इन दैट केस इट गो फॉर डीप कॉपी. अदरवाइज नॉर्मली व्हेन आई एम सेइंग कॉम्प्लेक्स C1 इज इक्वल टू C2, दो ऑब्जेक्ट्स को अगर एक ऑब्जेक्ट को दूसरे ऑब्जेक्ट में कॉपी भी किया तो बाय इंटरनली योर कंपाइलर विल गो फॉर शैलो कॉपी. ओके सौरभ.
और रेफरेंस से किया तो कौन सी कॉपी बनेगी? Which type of reference?
If you go for Amol, I am muting you, Amol. Ensure please follow the protocols. Reference से भी किया तो भी आपकी shallow copy बनेगी. In your book, जो आपको book आया है उसमें you can say conditions दिए हुए हैं. Conditions for shallow copy and conditions for deep copy. You can just go through that, Saurabh. Still, if you have any doubts, and I will clear it. Is it okay? Is it okay, Saurabh?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So it's like there are some conditions where the deep copy takes place. There are some conditions where the shallow copy takes place. All right. So this is about, you can say static, the shallow copy and deep copy. We have seen the concept of static methods and static member functions. Now we will proceed ahead to something called as exception handling. Any queries till this point, everyone? If you have any queries, please do ask. I'll wait for a minute. Otherwise, I'll explain the concept of exception handling in short. No. Shall we go ahead? Right. हार्दिक, in the previous case, static का normally syntax के ऊपर आपको question पूछते हैं. So you must be aware about the static function declaration, static function call, and so on and so forth. Okay. All right. Shall we go ahead to the next topic called as exception handling? All right. Now, let us understand the need of exception first. For example, let us say I have written a function void display function where I'm trying to display n1. I'm trying to display, I'm taking, let us say, 3 arguments into it. Okay, maybe 3 integers I'm taking. Now there are I'm not using any default arguments too. There are few possibilities. First, one user may go for this display. One user may have passed only 10 and 20. One user may pass 10, 20 and 30. So one user have passed only one value. So as an end user, I am basically trying to pass any number of arguments into this function, this function, this function, and this function. But what my display function is basically performing, my display function is having 3 integer arguments. So can I say this particular function call will succeed and this will reject, or this may generate error? Can I say like this, everyone? Everyone, right? So now, अगर मैं कोई एप्लीकेशन यूज करती हूँ, right? And in that application, suppose my application is used by some end customer and who is a completely non-technical person, right? And end user, if it will say here, obviously it will say me the error too few arguments, ऐसे टाइप का कुछ एरर आएगा मुझे एवरीवन। यहाँ पे भी मुझे ऐसे ही टाइप का एरर आएगा, यहाँ पे भी मुझे ऐसे ही टाइप का एरर आएगा। Will my other non-technical customer will be able to understand that too few arguments, what exactly it is, right? So it is basically little bit harsh way of treating the end users, right? It means that when the end user who is using your application and that person is basically trying to put some data into the system or trying to work on your application, and due to the wrong entry given by the end user, your system is getting crashed or your system is giving you some exceptions, or your system is giving you some kind of errors at runtime. So what is exception? Exception is a condition in which the user or the end user who is giving a wrong input to your application, due to that wrong input given by that application user, you are getting the exception or the error at that situation. And when you receive the error, then that error is a technical error, but that technical error may not be understood by the non-technical person or the end user. So maybe अल्टीमेटली वो पर्सन क्या बोलेगा, नहीं आपका एप्लीकेशन वर्क नहीं हो रहा है, इट इज गिविंग मी एरर्स सो आई विल नॉट यूज इट, because if that person is giving some wrong input, we cannot blame the end users, right? It's the very harsh way. So this is also a very harsh way to give the error type as too few arguments, too few arguments, too few arguments. No one will understand. So what I want, if I say now, please enter correct input having 3 numeric values. अगर मैं end user को ऐसे kind of कुछ message देती हूं, in that case क्या ये मेरे end user को अच्छा लगेगा? क्या उसको समझ में आएगा? Yes, उसको समझ में आएगा, right? So this is called as graceful termination of your program. यहां पे भी टर्मिनेट हो रहा है too few arguments, but when I give a proper message, this is called as graceful termination of the program. तो यहाँ पे the end user will not feel bad. Maybe the end user will at least try to give some correct input, and maybe the end user will also understand that yes, I have to give 3 numeric values. Maybe I'm giving some wrong entry to it, right? So what is exception? Exception is a condition that occur when the user is giving wrong input to the application and due to which the application crashes. So as a developer, I should be aware where the exception can occur. And if I'm saying as a developer, I know exception kahan pe ho sakta hai, वहां पे मैं उस एक्सेप्शन को हैंडल करूंगी. So I will try to handle the exception through the program such that if, for example, my application is getting terminated, it should terminate in a graceful manner. That is what is your exception handling is. समझ में आया what is exception handling? Everyone. All right. Good. Shall I proceed? If you have understood the meaning of exception and what is exception handling. All right. Now, to handle the exception in C++, we have few keywords. One is the try block. Another is a catch block, and third is try, catch, and throw block. These are the basically three keywords which are there in case of exception handling. Now, whenever you talk about exception handling, a try block consists of complete code which you want to observe. So I'll say, I'll write try and I'll write few number of statements. And मुझे पता है कि इस लोकेशन पे exception आ सकता है. I'll say throw. What throw? Throw the object. I'll say this, and here. I will write a catch block and I will try to catch the object. And I'll write some corrective actions. And so on. So this is the general skeleton of try, catch, and throw block. What does the try block will have? Try block will have the complete source code or the number of statements that you want to observe, or you feel that this may have the exception, or at this point exception occur ho sakta hai. For complete code, I will put it into the try block. Later on, if you feel based on some condition, if the exception have occurred, I will use a keyword called as throw object. Throw is a keyword which will throw one object, and this object will be caught by the catch block. Every try block must have at least one catch block. If I'm throwing integer value, it should catch integer. If I'm throwing float value, it should have a catch block with a float value. Means the data type of the thrown object must match with the object which is written in catch. What does the catch consist of? Inside the catch, I will write corrective actions. So what are the corrective actions? Corrective actions may be, I may display some, you can say message to the user. I may take some logic. I may write any statements which you feel that this can be the possibility. So have you got the structure of writing the try, catch, and throw keyword inside the program? I will give you one example, but let us understand the syntax part first. Okay. Yes, Aniraj, I'm taking one example after this. Let me just complete the introduction part. Did you all get it? Hardik, which point you have not understood? Let me know. Which point you have not understood? Throw object. Okay. Shall I take one example? Then you will be able to understand in more better way. All right. Now, let me take one small example and then you will understand clearly. I'll do one thing. I'll write main void return 0. I will take, let us say, two numbers from user, maybe integer n1 and n2. I'll say integer result. So cout, enter num1, c in n1. I'll say cout, enter num2, maybe c in n2. After that, I'm saying calculate result is equal to n1 divided by n2. And I'll say cout result. And I'll say result. All right. Let us first try to compile this simple program. 3_5.c. Okay, ./a.exe. It's asking me first number, I'm entering 20. It's asking me second number, I'm saying 5, and it is giving me the proper result, that is 4. So 20 divided by 4, it is giving me the proper output. Let me just compile, execute one more time. Now I'm saying 30. Now I'm saying 0. Can you see my application is getting crashed? It is not displaying any output. Neither I'm able to understand nor I'm able to get it why my output is not displayed. So because everyone is aware 30 divided by 0 नहीं हो सकता है, इसलिए मेरे कंपाइलर ने भी नहीं किया. बट मुझे कुछ आउटपुट ही डिस्प्ले नहीं हुआ, तो व्हाट इज माय इंप्रेशन? माय एप्लीकेशन इज नॉट वर्किंग प्रॉपरली. Can I say like this, everyone? Have you understood the scenario? So I can say, actually, there is an exception which have occurred in my program due to the wrong input given by me. To avoid this, I will go for handling the exception. How to handle the exception? Let us say, I will take two inputs, N1 and N2, from the user. I'll write a try keyword. Inside this try keyword, I will check if my N2 is equal to 0. If this is the condition, please throw 1 or please throw any number. Let us say 1. Otherwise, else, please perform result is equal to N1 divided by N2. And please result decode display karo. This is my try block. What does the try block consist of? Try block consists of the source code which you wish to inspect in your program. If any condition gets satisfied, it will throw 1. Why I have written 1? It is just a number. So 1 is a number of type integer. आपको 1 लिखना है, 5 लिखना है, 10 लिखना है, जो आपको लिखना है आप लिखो. Can I say throw is throwing the object of type integer? Yes. तो जहां पे मेरा try block खत्म होता है, immediately after that I will write a catch block. I'll say integer I. The reason why I have written integer I over here is, if the exception have occurred into the try block, then it will throw one integer value which should be caught by your catch block. So I will here write a corrective statement. Second number should not be 0. So that is one corrective action I am giving to the user. So let us compile this code once again. Can you see? First number I'm entering 40, second number 0. Is it giving me now graceful execution, graceful exit of the program? Yes. अब समझ में आया कि थ्रो क्यों लिखा? Assume मैंने थ्रो के यहाँ पे, right? Aditya, I'm not getting your doubt. Okay, now okay, maybe you were communicating with other person. Anyways, ठीक है. Now suppose I'm writing throw 1. Okay, and if I write here throw, if I write here, let us say throw A. So in this case, do I have a catch matching block for character? No. तो मैं यहाँ पे एक character ch लिख सकती हूँ. I'll write here inside इंटीजर कैच ब्लॉक। तो आपको समझ में आएगा कि कब वो कैरेक्टर ब्लॉक में गया एंड कब वो इंटीजर, इनसाइड कैरेक्टर कैच ब्लॉक. So now my try block, if any error have been occurred, it is throwing a character. It should go into the character block. Let us compile. Enter the number, enter the second number. Can you see it is saying inside the character catch block? So wo automatically, it is automatic, that's fine. Spelling mistake is fine because it is as it is displayed onto the output screen, right? So it is automatically going into the character catch block. Similarly, suppose I'm saying throw 1.1. 1.1 कौन सी वैल्यू होती है? फ्लोट होती है कि डबल होती है? बाय डिफॉल्ट डबल होती है ना वो. सो इनसाइड डबल कैच ब्लॉक. सो जो टाइप का ऑब्जेक्ट आप थ्रो करते हो उस टाइप का कैच स्टेटमेंट कंपलसरी होना चाहिए. एंटर द नम, एंटर दिस, इट इज गोइंग इनसाइड द डबल कैच ब्लॉक. Similarly, let us say I'm writing throw 1.5f. अब मेरे पास फ्लोट नाम का कैच ब्लॉक है क्या? थ्रो किया 1.5f, it will be considered as float. Do I have a matching catch block for it? No. Let us check the output. I'm saying 50. I'm saying 0. Can you see it is giving terminated called after throwing an instance of float? Have I written somewhere this statement? I have not written. तो ये कहां से आया? This comes automatically from standard library, which is called as std_terminate function gets called implicitly, which gives a call to std abort. So if you are trying to throw an object and if you're not writing the catch block out of it, then your C++ runtime environment gives a call to standard terminate function. What does that terminate function will do? It will terminate your program and it will give a call to the abort function, std scope resolution abort function, and due to that calling of abort function, this message is given by your C++ runtime environment. Have you understood, everyone? Now, why a second important point I can also conclude over here is a single try block may have one or more number of catch blocks. A single try block must have compulsory at least one catch block, right? अगर आपने try लिखा है compulsory उसको एक catch block होना चाहिए. If it is not having the catch block, जब आप object throw करोगे तो आपको catch नहीं है तो it will give you an error. So I can conclude as every try block must have at least one catch block or may have multiple number of catch blocks. अब मुझे float नाम का catch block नहीं लिखना है. If I have not written any matching catch block, the C++ runtime environment gives a call to whom? To the terminate function, which implicitly gives a call to abort function, which will terminate your program. But suppose if I say I am writing catch ... What is that ... It is basically called as generic catch block. Generic instructions देने हैं. For example, कभी कभी आप फॉर्म फिल करते हो, right? Whenever you do some registration or something like that. At that moment, have you ever observed आपने कोई फील्ड एम्प्टी रखी है तो आपको एक मैसेज डिस्प्ले होता है form incomplete, some fields are empty. Have you ever received this kind of error in the output? Right. In short, पूरा फॉर्म चेक होता रहेगा बैकएंड में, एंड देन ट्राई एंड कैच की वजह से आपको एक जनरलाइज्ड मैसेज आता है, फॉर्म इज इनकम्प्लीट, सम फील्ड्स आर एम्प्टी. So in that case, you have to search throughout the form which field I have kept it as empty. That is called as generic catch block. But in some of the programs, in some of the forms, you find that आपको specific आता है, you have not entered mobile number, please enter correct mobile number. You have not entered email ID. That means that is called as specific catch block. Every field on that, they have put some condition and accordingly they have written a catch block. So if I write, it is always a good practice to write a specific catch block rather than generic catch block. Generic catch block may irritate the end user at some point of time. That we have already seen many other times whenever you fill the forms. Form is empty, form is basically incomplete, form incomplete, form incomplete. ऐसा error आया तो आपको इरिटेशन होता है कि कौन सा फील्ड एम्प्टी है. बट आपको अगर स्पेसिफिक मैसेज आया, यू हैव नॉट एंटर्ड द करेक्ट मोबाइल नंबर, तो ऑब्वियसली यू विल बी हैप्पी एंड यू विल फिल द फॉर्म हैप्पीली, राइट? सो दिस इज हाउ इट इज. Suppose I'm saying 78, I'm saying 0, and can you say I'm getting generic catch block? So if my compiler is unable to find a matching catch block after the throw object, in that case, if the compiler if we have written as a developer some common catch block for corrective action, then that is called as generic catch block. How does the generic catch block look like? We write catch, we write colon, 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 that is generic field. Did you all get it? Everyone? समझ में आया the need of generic catch block exception handling? So this is what I have written. If we give a wrong input to the application, it generates runtime error or exception. It's an object which is used to send a notification to the end user of the system if any exceptional situation occurs in the program. We have three keywords: try, catch, and throw. If you do not provide a matching catch block, C++ runtime gives a call to standard terminate, and it will give a call to standard abort function. Have you all understood? Everyone? Any queries so far? All right. So shall we take a break of 10-15 minutes? All right. So let's take a break, and I will stop the recording as a part 1.